Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable, high-performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore.
Hey there, welcome to today's episode. Worry less, live more. That's what we're going to talk about. I think that's the plan. There's always something to worry about if you think about it as a human. Certainly in the year I'm recording this, 2025, maybe political unrest, climate change, political change, artificial intelligence, what's coming with that, economic instability, economic uncertainty. I don't know, literally the list goes on. And that doesn't include us bringing in your personal life, worrying about yourself, worrying about your job, worrying about your business, worrying about your kids, worrying about your partner, worrying about your health. The list never ends. Like, life is full of potential threats. That is true. But how much of that worry, how much of that overthinking is really actually useful? And what if that worry is making things worse? And also, what if it's completely unnecessary? And I think it is. And I'd like to give you some food for thought in this episode. Now, before I looked at it the way I look at it today, I would have looked at worry as probably just the way I did things. It felt productive. It felt like it was something that was worthwhile doing, analyzing risks, analyzing problems, trying to find a solution. But all too often, what I also realized for myself and with clients, just in life in general, that worry creates a loop that drains you of energy, of clarity, of peace of mind. And the very things that we need to navigate uncertainty, which is now. Like, we live in a very uncertain time. That is not going to go away. As far as I can see, it's going to increase. And so I think it's really, really important to consider how much you worry, what ways you might worry without even realizing it. Because a lot of people actually, I think, worry in ways that they don't necessarily see as worry, but it might just be holding you back on the inner edge, the inner game. So there's maybe 4 areas I'm going to throw out today that we're going to explore potentially how you might shift worry into a different gear or a different approach, perhaps a different way of living. One where you stay more clear, where you stay still prepared, as in like you're still dealing with things, but you're fully engaged with life with a capital L. Now, for me, worry is not the same as awareness, and it's not the same as preparation. I think the key is it's a pattern of thinking. It's a way of using your mental energy, of using your mind, which isn't really productive. Because if you're looking for more clarity and peace of mind, as I said earlier on, that comes more from balancing clarity with action, with also with preparation, not just overthinking all the time or worrying about what might happen or indeed what did happen and will it be repeated into the future. So different things that I think are universal that I've seen happen with clients is, sometimes people can be glued to the news, that they literally take in a huge amount of news, believing that that's a very productive way of keeping themselves up to date. But without realizing it, they can often and do influence their thinking and activate the fearful thinking that really contributes to worry. Fearful thinking contributes to a busy mind, which then increases worry, which then amplifies your anxiety, your feelings of anxiety. Not healthy. So you can be glued to the news versus, say, somebody who maybe isn't as much glued to the news, but they acknowledge that there is uncertainty, but they focus very much on what they can do within their circle of control, within their circle of influence. So what can you do? What are small tangible steps that make a difference that actually will move things forwards? Or also that mind, instead of worrying about things, about uncertainty, things they can't control or influence, where are the opportunities? Much better use of your mind. So 4 particular, probably, elements that you might consider to kind of escape the worry trap. First of all, look for or cultivate a 3C state. something I've talked about many times in this podcast, something I've written about in my book, The Inner CEO, something I talk about to clients all the time. 3 C's stands for calm, clear, and centered. So the goal isn't to eliminate uncertainty. That's kind of impossible, but your goal is to cultivate a state where you can handle uncertainty effectively. So if you're more calm, instead of being reactive, you start making better decisions. You learn to pause before jumping on the train of thought that's worry. Clarity helps you separate real concerns from imagined ones. It helps you to step away from unhelpful thinking. And then from that, then you're very centered. It's easier to tap into your intuition or better level of thinking to navigate. So on a very practical level, you could say, okay, well, look, in the moment today, if you do feel worry creeping in, pause, take a deep breath, recognize it's a pattern of thinking, and just ask a different question, which is, okay, what's the next best action that I can take right now? Food for thought there. The second one would be to live with a capital L, where you're fully engaged. You're not paralyzed by fear. You're almost welcoming uncertainty. I mean, worry shrinks our ability to live. It makes us play small, perhaps without realizing it, because we avoid risk. We hold back, even personally, as well as professionally, and we hesitate sometimes instead of taking action. So living fully to me means you're fully engaged, you're accepting uncertainty, and you're moving forward anyway, even if there is that feeling of fear that comes from worry or anxiety. And very often, if you reflect on your own life, certainly I know it's true for me, that if you focus too much on potential risks, you often miss not only opportunities, but the experiences that are right in front of you that can be very, very meaningful. And so I think a very simple but powerful challenge for yourself is, again, periodically asking yourself, especially when you're making decisions or choices, like, am I making this choice from fear or am I making this choice from possibility? And it takes some self-awareness to at least be open to stepping back and reflecting on your thinking, which is a very good use of your mind. Instead of using the worry element of your mind, move into the reflective part of your mind, a much better part that feels better and also gives much better value for money, value for your time. I think a third element would be to manage risks. I think there are risks in your life, personal and business. I think the best leaders I've ever met were always brilliant risk managers, always. And it's looking at the risks practically without being consumed by the fear that comes with the risk. Because ultimately, good risk management is about strategy. It's not about stress. And again, it comes down to, instead of obsessing about all the things that could go wrong, that did go wrong, that might go wrong, that we train ourselves to focus on what's likely to happen and how we might handle that. So instead of overthinking something or ruminating on something, which is just looping and looping on the same thing, you could just make a simple plan to mitigate the risk and say, okay, well, if this happens, my response will be this. So if X happens, my response will be Y. And that is a very powerful, simple way that's used in business when it's done well, scenario planning, business continuity planning, but you can also do that in your personal life. The reality is that as humans, we are very, very resilient. Sometimes it's not until we're thrown into the deep end we realize how resilient we are. And before that happened, you would have been overthinking, well, I couldn't do this and I wouldn't be able to cope with that. But when you're in it, humans are so adaptive, so creative when they just engage and go with it. And underneath it all, it's just incredibly comforting and powerful to know that no matter what happens, I mightn't like it, but I will handle it. When I was growing up in Kilkenny, which is in the southeast of Ireland, I was in the Boy Scouts, which is a global, I suppose, not-for-profit organization, the scouting organization, but the Boy Scouts, before we got to the Scouts, but that was where I learned the phrase, be prepared, which is one of the mottos of the Boy Scouts, be prepared. And the fourth element, I think, is to be like a Boy Scout, be prepared, because preparation does help reduce anxiety. That's just the truth. It may not necessarily limit it for everybody, but it is one of the best antidotes to worry. And for your mind to relax, sometimes it helps just to be prepared. The better prepared you are, the less you need to waste energy on overthinking things, over worrying things. So that's kind of a very practical one that I think most people would know about. But again, Instead of worrying about something, say, okay, well, hang on, ask yourself, what's the area I'm worried about here, and where can I better prepare so that I worry less? So what about you? As you're listening to me, I think it'd be a rare person that would say they don't have anything that they worry about. It just sometimes comes with being a human at different stages of your life. There's different challenges, different risks, different worries, or different things to potentially worry about. So where might you let worry take over instead of focusing perhaps on clarity or that 3C state? Do you think you're living fully, or right now, are you playing small in some area of your work or your life because of fearful thinking? And if you were open to it, like, what's one way that you could be better prepared on something so you don't waste energy on unnecessary worry now or even coming down the track towards you? So I guess if I'm to try and close it out now with something specific, I would say worry doesn't prevent bad things from happening at all. I think, wasn't it Mark Twain that said that famous quote, I'm an old man, I've known a great many worries, but none of them ever happened. It doesn't mean that things don't happen. I mean, things will happen to us all, but worry doesn't prevent bad things from happening. It just doesn't. It only prevents us, you, me, from living fully and actually thinking at a higher level, thinking more clearly. So prepare wisely, live fully and boldly, and maybe just let go of the rest. That's it for this week. Ciao for now.